Welcome back to another team analysis video, part 2 of the season 2 of the Universal Game Association in the Kalos Division. Myself, Rex, is teamed up today as well as yesterday when we recorded the first part by Chulainn.
Hey.
And the good old Kev.
Hey guys.
So, and we just right up start today with the same system as the part 1 video, and we start with the team of the Shokensal Resonance. And I think I will talk about the team at last because I kind of know the building process, to say it at least.
Okay, so I think I will just start because
Yeah.
I already analyzed the team for myself a bit. So first of all, like the first pick was G-Max Charizard. Obviously, I love the pick. Like G-Max Charizard is by far my favorite Pokemon, paired with Charizard Mega X. So for that reason alone, I love the team. But like obviously only with Charizard the team wouldn't be good. But they also have Tapu Fini, which is probably one of the best supporters in the game. Like it lost some moves with Swagger and with Gravity, but it still has so many options with screens, with field pulls, haste. It can go offensive. Like you can run choice specs, you can run life orb, you can even run choice specs trick if you want to, and you can set up with Call Mind, being a really bulky mon. It can do so many things while preventing the opponent from putting starters on the board. And then they also have Latias, which is really good. It's another heal pulse user, and I think Latias is way better than Latios because the bulk is, at least for this team, and I think in most cases, way better than the extra power from Latios. And Latias also is a really good support. It also has double screens, it has Baldos, I think it also has Icy Wind. I'm not 100% sure on that. And it also has like heal pulse, recover. It can set up comments on its own, while like as I said, provides speed control for the team. And it's similar to Fini. It can do every role. Like it can go defensive, it can go setup, and it can completely offensive or supporter role. And then there's also the Mudstay, which is really good with what they picked so far. Like Charizard, Mudstay, they can switch into each other pretty well. Like Charizard doesn't like electric and rock type attacks, which Mudstay switches in super easily. Like, yeah, both of them don't like water type attacks, but you have Fini and Latias to cover for that, so that's super fine. And also Charizard can set up the stamina ability with speed up if you really want to do that, and I think that's a really good option. And then you also have like Urshifu. Like obviously I picked Urshifu last season, I picked Urshifu this season, so Urshifu is really good, especially with the Gigantamax effect from Charizard. Like the chip damage makes clearing up with Urshifu so much easier. And Urshifu is another beat up option for Mudstay, so the synergy there is pretty strong. And then there's also the Inti Pimp, which I want to point out because it's like at the beginning of Series 2 or Series 3, Mudstay Grimmsnarl was pretty common, like as Silver's Mudstay with own tempo and Swagger Grimmsnarl, because you can just Swagger yourself while not being confused. And you can do this with Inti Pimp Mudstay as well. And you could also just go Stamina as ability instead of own tempo because you have Fini on the team. So I really like the combination, and I think these 6 together are really solid core. And then you have also the Stone Jr., which I want to point out because Stone Jr. is really niche. Like sometimes it's really hard to switch into Charizard already and into Urshifu, but if you give them a free life orb on top of that, it's really like it's disgustingly strong. And then they also have the Go guys to set up Trick Room and yeah, also Frisk ability. Like I kind of see my team from last season when I see this. Like Charizard, Urshifu, Go guys are pretty familiar to me, so I'm obviously really biased with the team and I like it overall. Cryojournal also a decent ice type. Like it's decent for T4. It's reasonably fast. It can do some stuff. It doesn't have the best move pool, but it does the job that it needs to. And Magneton being able to trap scary steel types and just destroy them with Mudsdale, Urshifu, or like Charizard is really, really valuable. The only thing I miss here is like the ability to like set up Sunny Day really easily, because Empty Pimp doesn't get Sunny Day, and I think the only Sunny Day user is, I would guess, Latias gets it, but like that's kinda iffy in my opinion. Like you don't want to put Sunny Day on Latias just to support Charizard. I mean, Charizard can still do massive damage without the sun, but obviously you want to trigger the solar power ability if possible, and I think that's something the team kinda misses. But overall, a really strong draft. Like, coming to the points, obviously I just checked, they have every typing in the game, literally every typing, if I counted correctly. So it's easily a 4 out of 4. Speed control, like, they have a solid Trick Room user in Go Guys. It's really hard to stop Go Guys if you play it correctly, and like you can scout for items with risk, which makes setting up Trick Room sometimes easier because you can scout for choice items, and then you can say, okay, my Go Guys can't take it, I can switch it out and play for Trick Room later on. And then you have Fini and Latias, which both of them has Icy Wind or Baldos, and Latias also has the Tailwind, and there's Miltank with Icy Wind. Obviously you have Charizard, which can go for Airstreams. Like, speed control is all over the place on this team. Modes wise, it's for me also 3 out of 3. Like, you have a massive offensive mode with Charizard, Urshifu, but you can also go weather defensive and setting up the Mudsdale. You can, as I said, play your Fini and your Latias in so many different ways, and they do so different jobs if you play them differently that it's really hard to expect what they will do. And yeah, like, you can go for the Mudsdale strat, like really bulky, setting up the swagger stuff, but you can also just explode on your opponent with Charizard, and I think it's really hard to prepare for both modes. General support, like Fini, Latias, Empty Pimp, give so good support. Then you have also Stone Joner, which is in my opinion also kinda a supporter. Like, it does do damage on its own, but it's mainly there to provide the life up boost, and that's a very niche support role that only Stone Junior has. And then you have also Frisk and Gourgeist and Will-O-Wisp support and stuff like that. And I think overall this team has a lot of support options. Offensively, I only gave it a 2.5 out of 3. Like, the only issue I have is that monsters like Charizard and Mudsdale, they kinda rely on the Dynamax to do really, like, they need some setup. Charizard likes to have the sun to do much damage, or the Gigantamax, and Mudsdale kinda needs a weakness policy boost or swagger boost to do massive damage, or like the stamina boost, body press to do stuff. It doesn't do too much damage without the boost. Stone Junior can kinda make up for it, but like then you have Stone Junior on the board that doesn't do too much on the board on its own. So I think it's only a 2.5 for me. If this team would have a Sunny Day user, better Sunny Day user, it would be a 3 for me, but as it's right now, it's only 2.5. Same for the bulk. Like, you have obviously Fini, Latias, and the Mudsdale, which are super bulky, but other than that, there's not too much bulk. Like, Charizard is rather squishy, same goes for Urshifu, especially since both of them has a 4 times weakness. Gourgeist is kinda bulky, but it kinda struggles to take hits from both sides. Like, last season I had sometimes problems to bring it because I couldn't figure out a way to make sure it lives physical and special hits. And all other members besides, like, Miltank is reasonably bulky, but it's not the bulkiest one. And yeah, like, it's not a 3 for me. It's a solid 2.5, which in total is 19 points and a solid 9.5 grade. And yeah, this team is just really, really strong, and I think this team will definitely make the playoffs. And yeah, let me know what you think, Kev.
Yeah, you already said a lot about this team, but I will give my 2 cents as well, of course. The Shokensal Resonance is looking quite strong and intimidating, if you ask me. they got the nice Gmax Charizard, which of course won the previous UGA season with you and the charging Charizards actually. So it definitely is scary, even though you didn't play it too much, but it can do quite a lot, and it has a nice Gmax move, which I like a lot. I like all these kind of Gmax moves with some nice chip damage, like the Wildfire, like the Vine Lash and the Volcalyphs and so on. It's a really nice effect in my opinion, and it's easy for your opponent to underestimate this, so it can easily turn around games on its own. Of course, if you have a fire type to switch into the Wildfire, you're off a bit better, but still the Wildfire effect will be super annoying for you. And then you also got the Tapu Fini to and the Mudsdale to cover for the major weaknesses of Charizard, which is extremely nice. You can also bring in the Latias if required, and this also gives you a nice form of speed control with Latias being super fast. Latias also having the Levitate for Charizard, which obviously is really good, as well as the Cryogonal, which usually also has the ground type weakness, but due to Levitate you can easily switch that in as well. And Cryogonal also gets the screens, if I'm not mistaken. I think you didn't mention that yet. With its speed, it's quite a reasonable screen setter, I would say. And I guess for a tier 4 pick, this is quite strong, especially since you get both, like the Levitate and the screens. That's not too shabby, actually. In terms of typing, I would say this team is easily a 4 out of 4, just as you said. There's 2 types missing, actually, if I did count correct. They don't seem to have a poison, and they don't seem to have a bug type. None of those 2 types are actually super important. They can be handy in some situations, but you definitely do not need them, and the types present in the team cover each other quite well, so those 2 missing types, they don't matter too much, which is why I still give it a 4 out of 4. And then on the other hand, you also have some very scary offensive mons here, like Urshifu, so not having 1 type or 2 types definitely makes sense as a trade-off for doubling the Dark type with Urshifu and Impidimp, for example. I think that is a way bigger win than loss in this case. In terms of speed control, this team, as you explained, can do a lot. You can set up the Tailwind, you can set up Icy Winds with Cryogonal. The team itself already has different speed nodes, can be quite fast. It has 4 or 5 mons above base 100. It does have quite a few mons that are slower than 60 or 50 or so. So it can also be played reasonably well inside of Trick Room, especially with the Mudsdale, which is a Trick Room powerhouse on its own already. And as you said, your opponent definitely also has to respect the beat-up option with Charizard, even though that's maybe a kind of niche strategy, but for some opponents it could be the right strategy actually to make you win the match day. And I really like that there's such a nice niche pick available, or niche strategy available to this team. So in terms of modes, and I didn't say the points for speed control yet, did I?
No,
that's also a 4 out of 4 for me, because I think everything that you need is basically present. You can set up the Trick Room with Gourgeist as well, and you have the speedy route with the other mons that I already mentioned. Then in terms of modes, there's a lot of different things you can do. You can go Zard and try and steamroll your opponent. You can do the same with Mudsdale. You can play it slow with Mudsdale. You can bring in Urshifu and Zard, which is scary. You can switch in and cover each other nice. You can bring in Gourgeist and stall out the Trick Room, or play in the Trick Room on your own. You also can, as you said, trap some Steel types if they are scary and threaten your team with Magneton. So there's a lot of nice different things that you can do. And I think this team overall, in terms of modes, it doesn't have like the perfect Sun mode, which is the only weakness I see here because of Charizard, of course. But other than that, there's a lot of different modes that you can play, which I really like. And I think this gives you a lot of versatility inside of a draft league, which is beneficial when it comes to preparation, because your opponent can't ever really know what you're going for. I think there's a lot of different small adjustments that can be made, which change the dynamics of the game overall. Yeah, then in terms of support, for modes, that's a 3 out of 3 for me. And in terms of general support, there's a lot. You've got the Tapu Fini, you've got the Gorgeist. There's Fake Out if you want to on the Impidimp. No, actually, Impidimp doesn't get Fake Out yet, right?
I will check that really quick. You can continue.
Alright.
It does get Fake Out.
It does already get Fake Out. Then it's even better than I initially anticipated. Yeah, you can trap Steel types, which is super handy, especially if you've got your Zard on the field. You can set up screens. You can go super slow and annoying with the Gorgeist. You can roll out Tapu Fini with a lot of different support moves. You can set the terrain and go for terrain walls if you want to. That's also, for me, a 3 out of 3. The only category where I actually deduct points is the offense, because I think the Sun mode is kind of missing to make the team really, really offensive. Like, it already has good offense with Charizard and Urshifu, Mudsdale, Miltank, and so on. But to make it even scarier and to make it like the best it can be, you would actually need a Sun mode, in my opinion. And this is why I subtract the point here. So it's just quote unquote 2 out of 3. And in terms of bulk, we've got Gorgeist, we've got Tapu Fini, we've got Mudsdale, which can be super bulky as well if you slap, for example, an Assault Vest on it. So there's some really good options for this. And this also results in 3 out of 3 points and brings me to a total of 19, or a grade of 9.5.
Okay, so you both told a lot about the team, so I just want to make it really quick. I go through the team very quick, because I know the building process a little bit, because I know they usually wanted G-Max Lapras, which is no surprise because it's on the logo, and they get sniped pretty early, but they were aware of this because G-Max Lapras is such a potent Pokemon that an early snipe was kind of obvious, and they main focused on quite good synergy. So their main focus was to build a team with a lot of good synergy, and I think they did. They are very offensive. They are very bulky. They have a lot of modes. I mean, Gorgeist, just to add this information, has Sunny Day as well. And it's quite fast for that. You can as well easily go for a Sunny Day. Because it's a ghost type, it can't be faked out. Besides, you have Kangaskhan or Scrafty, I think, has Scrappy as well. But yeah, and I think overall, they have a lot of different modes. I mean, we have Soak on Fini as well. You have the Halloween on Gorgeist to add a ghost type to a Pokemon, which is quite disgusting if you think about the Urshifu here. And the Misty Terrain is a good addition to avoid paralysis or avoid burns on Mudsdale and Stormjourner. I think Stormjourner here is, I know who's from this team does this pick, I think, because I know he lost this thing, and I think it's quite underrated because White Guard can be quite good, and this free life orb, of course, is just amazing. And I mean, to have Rockslide, to have a bulky physical Pokemon, because it's pretty bulky, it can be quite fast, has good HP stat, and is offensively surprisingly strong. It lacks just the special defense, which is okay in my opinion, because you play Duraludon as well. So why not go with Stormjourner? The Magneton is, I think, a very good addition in Tier 4, because we wanted this before and we get sniped by them. because we think Magneton is for tier 4 way more efficient than Magnezone to pick. It's quite offensively, it's quite bulky. The ability with Magnetpole is awesome in my opinion, and they have the not only the water, fire, grass core, they have as well the fantasy core with dragon, with fairy, with steel. I forgot one, I think. Dragon,
No,
okay.
D3.
Yeah. So and overall the type synergy is awesome. I think, in my opinion, they like two things. And because I go through this my points here very fast. Type-wise, I would give them a 4 out of 4. Speed control. Here is the thing, I wouldn't give them the whole total points, because they have a lot of options to control the speed in a way, but I think they have not really that trick room mode. There is Mudsail, but that's it. If the Mudsail is gone, then there is no trick room mode for them, in my opinion. And okay, the Gore guys can be slow if you play the little one. But what they're lacking as well is, in my opinion, a higher speed tiering. So they have nothing. I think at 115 to 130, there's nothing in their team. I mean, okay, they can boost their speed by Tailwind and by Max Airstream and so stuff, or by paralyze their opponents or so. But yeah, I think that they have not that instant sun mode is not that big of a problem, because they have Prankster Fake tiers if they want to. They have this Life Orb Stonejourner support. They can play Helping Hand. And one thing I want to point out is the Miltank here, because I think it's very awesome with the Zipper ability. The 100 base speed is as well awesome, in my opinion, to play such things like Scarf, Icy Wind, or Thunder Waves. And Zipper is awesome because they have Sojourner, they have Tapu Fini, they have Mudsail, which covers this quite good. It's pretty bulky, in my opinion. So yeah, I think overall it's an awesome team. Very hard to prepare for, in my opinion, because they have so much modes, and their Pokemon can be offensively, support-wise. It's quite intimidating, like Kev said. So overall, in speed control-wise, I would give them 3 out of 4 because the before mentioned facts. Mode-wise, 3 out of 3. General support, 3 out of 3. Offensive, 3 out of 3, and bulk, 3 out of 3, in my opinion. So I came to total points to 19 points and a grade of 9.5. So, do you have something to add here for this team?
No, the only thing I just mentioned is I said that I had Gorguys, but I had Trevenant last season. Like Lucas had Gorguys, and I mixed those up. So
okay.
Yeah, I didn't have Gorguys.
They are similar in a way.
Yeah.
And they have
I
two
picked
Frisk
Trevenant
users.
because I picked Trevenant because it can add the grass type, which pairs up with Charizard.
Yeah.
And then I didn't even bring it a single time because it never was that good.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just how it goes.
Yeah, I think we will continue with REX team next.
Yeah, with the Alpine Alcremie. And I think, Kev the word first here.
All right. Yeah, let's look at the Alpine Alcremie. I have to say, at first I was super surprised by the name of the team and the mascot of your team, because everyone knows you hate fairies, and now you named your team after one. So I think you owe us an explanation at the end of talking about your team. But yeah, other than that, what can I say about your team? It's, I think, in a way a bit weird. So I did have some troubles making my mind up about the mode and about what you're going to play with this team. And as kind of like in the last season, I do have the feeling you might have gotten sniped a few times here, maybe. But I do think there's some very scary individual picks in your team, like the Regirock, of course, is super scary. It can be extremely strong while being super bulky and basically steamrolling your team without you having the ability to wear it down. And because you do have the Meow Stick, you can reliably get up the screens and put the Regirock behind it, slap a weakness policy onto it, and then do your thing. So this is definitely something interesting, especially also probably paired with the Noivern. And this is kind of funny because we saw this exact combination, this exact duo in the previous season doing a lot of work for Chulainn when he almost brought Meowstic and Noivern in, I think, almost every game as a potential lead, and probably also brought it to, like, each game he brought Meowstic and Noivern, it was the lead at least in one of the 3 matches. So this definitely is a scary lead, and you can get up the Tailwind with Noivern, you get the Frisk with Noivern, which in a draft league is extremely valuable and adds nice points to the general support, because you immediately get to spot hidden sneaky strategies of your opponent, which you otherwise might not see. Noivern is super fast with 123 base speed, gets up the Tailwind, can set some really hard offensive pressure as well. You can either go for Air Slash or for Hurricane if you're a bit gambling but want higher damage. So that one is definitely a nice and scary pick, and pairs well with the Meowstic, as I mentioned already. I think this also works well with the Regirock. So those 3, they are a solid core in my opinion. The Alcremie, yeah, I'm not really a big fan of G-Max Alcremie, but at least you pick your mascot, so that's fine. Poliwrath, I don't know. I think it can be strong, but I kind of miss the actual rain mode. I know you can bring in Rain Dance with some of your mons, and Meowstic, for example, also gets Rain Dance and allows you to have a nice, fast, swift swim Poliwrath. But I think another option to get it up, other than forcing you to waste that move slot on Meowstic, would actually be nice to make it shine a bit more. Drapion I like really much as a pick. Sniper is an awesome ability for Drapion. If you get a crit there, you can deal devastating damage with it. It gets actually really disgusting at what it can one-hit KO with the sniper ability. But of course, you're a bit reliant on the snipes, on the critical hits. Then, at the same time, it also has a nice move set, has access to stuff like knockoff, which is also really valuable if you want to get rid of some annoying items. Yeah, and the poison dark typing also is really cool. I mean, there's a lot of annoying fairy types, and having a poison on your poison type on your team always helps to get rid of those that you cannot get rid of with your Durant, because they might be a nice, annoying Primarina, which doesn't have a steel type weakness actually. So you need the poison type attacks, and I think Drapion fills that gap really nicely. And if you cannot bring the Drapion, you still can bring the Durant, which is a nice offensive powerhouse and also quite fast. It has been played a lot, especially in the beginning of the Sword and Shield metagame. Dropped in usage quite a bit over time as more and more G-Max mons got released, but I think it still has viability, and especially in draft leagues, you can throw your opponent off. You can do stuff they don't expect, like slap a focus sash on it, and suddenly they can't one-hit KO it, and maybe they didn't anticipate that, and you get a nice moment of surprise. So Durant definitely is a nice pick, especially for tier 2. I think with the hustle ability, it can do a lot. Of course, it's reliant on Dynamaxing then, but if you need to bring a steel type, Durant is your friend. Yeah, Blacephalon, I actually don't know that one too much. I've played against it only twice, so I cannot say too much to it. A pick that I really, really like in your team is the Piloswine, and I think you swapped it in during the grace period, and I really like that addition. It added 2 new typings that you didn't have yet. It has the Oblivious ability, which can be super awesome if you run stuff or if you play against an Intimidate user, you can run stuff like Oblivious and Adrenaline Orb, which is a bit niche, but can save you the game if you play it out correctly. And it also has kind of the same offensive potential that Mamoswine gets, but is way, way cheaper, obviously. So that definitely works, and you can even slap an Eviolite onto it. And, you know, in a draft league, you always can use a good Eviolite user, so why not grab that up? Then there's the Rotom. Rotom Grass, I really like that because it added another type. You didn't have the Grass type so far, and it helped you also to finish that Fire, Water, Grass core. And also, Rotom definitely just has nice typing with Electric and Grass. You can do quite a lot. The only downside that I see in every Rotom basically is that they always only get one move, one stab move for their specified type, so for Grass, Fire, and so on. It might not bother some players too much, but I think it's really shitty about the Rotom, especially because it's a move that directly drops your special attack. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that, but still, Rotom can do a lot, can be quite bulky, can do super nice support things with Ally Switch, annoying your opponent. It can set up with Nasty Plot, all that good stuff. So, in terms of typing, I give you a 4 out of 4 easily because you cover every type in the game, and also the mons that you have in your main modes. They can kind of cover each other, so there's nothing to deduct here. Speed control, I think, is looking quite nice. The only thing that you lack, in my opinion, is an actual Trick Room mode. So that's where I have to deduct the point, of course, because it's also something where you can't reliably play in my opinion. You do have some slow mons, and you could go Trick Room with Piloswine and Regirock maybe, but none of them are really slow. And since you also don't really have an option to control the Trick Room yourself, I think that is kind of lackluster in your team. Of course, you can still try to always deny the Trick Room and so on, but I think you're going to have a bit of troubles if your opponent has, for example, a Ghost-type Trick Room setter, or can cover it otherwise with items and Fake Out on their side. So this is where I can give you, quote-unquote, only 2 points, because it's 2 out of 4. In terms of modes, yeah, as I said, I'm a bit confused by the actual modes. Maybe there's something that I overlook. Probably, maybe Chulainn can clear my mind. But I currently noted a 2 out of 3, because I do like the Regirock Meowstic Noivern core, and I do like some of the mons that add in as individual Pokemon, but I don't see the clearest mode here, so just 2 out of 3 points for me. General support is looking quite good. You've got Meowstic, which can do a lot. You've got Rotom, which can do a lot. There's also some niche things that you can do. Oh yeah, and I completely forgot to mention the Alcremie, but Alcremie is of course also a good support Pokemon. I'm not the biggest fan of Alcremie, so I always overlook it. But it has its potential, and it has its niches. So definitely also something that helps your team out a lot. Where did I stop? With the general support. Yeah, I think that's a 2 out of 3 for me as well. And then in terms of offense, you've got a lot of heavy hitters, in my opinion, and mons that can be super duper strong, but they also kind of rely on setup and on being protected. For example, Durant, you have to Dynamax with Durant, you have to protect the Durant, where if you cannot do this, your offense is falling off quite quickly. That's something that I don't like too much, especially because I don't think there's the best ways for you to protect them. You could probably use a Follow Me user quite well. Of course, they are extremely rare in draft leagues, so what can you do? There's only so and so many Pokemon that you can actually draft. but that's something that I actually miss in the team. Same goes for Regirock, basically. If you can set it up and if you can get it running, it's gonna steamroll the opponent, I'm pretty sure, because it has so much great offensive potential. But that's the big thing, right? That's the big but. You have to set it up, and if you can't do this, you kind of lose your offense. In terms of bulk, however, I think you are looking quite okay. Regirock can be bulky. You can set it behind. You can set all your mons behind screens, of course, and this is the nice part. You can almost always get your screens up, guaranteed, because you have a prankster screen user. There could be some stronger, bulkier Pokemon on your team overall, like as individual Pokemon. But I think due to the screens, it's quite okay, and you also can cover yourself. With the Alcremie, for example, there. So I think it's okay-ish, which gets me to a 2 out of 3 for both offense and bulk. And that's a total of 14 points for grade 7, actually.
Okay, great. I think I will just continue then. Like, obviously, I can say a lot about this team because it has my, I would say, signature core out of the last season with Meowstic Neuven, which I think I brought them to every match. I can't remember a single match where I didn't bring them. And as you said, I let them quite often because it's so strong as a combination. Like you get so much control, you get so much information in turn 1. You can't, like, your opponent can't really stop you from doing what you want to. Like, you have Fake or you have Tailwind, you are so fast that he can't, like, taunt your Neuven, and you can set up your screens, you can even go for Fake here stuff. Like, I did so many things with them, and I think there are a lot more things that you can do with them, and I'm looking forward to what like they will do with my voice. And obviously there's also like Regirock, which I used in the Players Cup 2 Global Finals. So obviously I love Regirock. He's really cool, especially like behind screens, but he doesn't really rely on screens because he can set up curses to make himself bulkier, and then he can counteract Trick Room. Like, obviously you can't set Trick Room, but I didn't have Trick Room on my team as well. But Regirock was my Trick Room answer because you couldn't just lead him with the screens and set up a curse and then just say to your opponent, pick your poison. Either you don't set up your Trick Room, so you don't play in the room that you want to, or you set up your Trick Room and my Regirock will still just beat you down. So I really, really like Regirock, and it's really hard to counteract that because of the clear body ability. And also Regirock, like, it has the benefit to set up the sand and max Quakes for itself to make himself, like, to make the special defense a little bit better of Regirock, which is with base 100 obviously not bad, but obviously not as good as the physical bulk. And then there's also Durant. Like, I played Durant a lot in Series 5 and Series 6. I love Durant. He's so strong, and like, you can do so many stuff with him. You can go Life Orb super offensively, but you can also run Occa Berries. I used Occa Berry a lot, and I won so many sets with Durant because the opponent thought, I can just overhit you. And I was like, no, I will take it, and I still do so much damage with the Hustle ability. But Durant doesn't, like, you don't have to run Hustle. Sometimes Durant can just run as a focus sash user without Hustle and be in the back to revenge KO your opponent because he's super fast, and base, I believe, 109 attack, if I'm not mistaken, or 107, something like that, is still solid. Like, it's enough to pick up KOs outside of Dynamax, and I really like those picks. What I also really like is the Blacephalon. Blacephalon, at first I was, Blacephalon doesn't look too good on the team, but then I saw the Neuven. Blacephalon has the signature move Mind Blown, which does heavy damage on every Pokemon on the board on the cost of 50% of Blacephalon's HP. However, Neuven has the Telepathy ability. Telepathy prevents it from getting damaged by the partner Pokemon. And it also has Boom Burst, which Blacephalon is immune to. So you can go for very, very heavy spread damage to your opponent, which is really hard to stop because both of them are so fast. And like Blacephalon doesn't stop there. It's immune to fake out, which makes it really hard to stop it from doing what it wants to. And like it also can kind of support the Durant and the Cinccino by dropping the opponent's defense with max Phantasm. So I really like Blacephalon, and I'm looking forward to see them using it. And I also can see it being a really good mon in the back. Like if you bring Meowstic Noivern and then have like chip your opponent down a bit, and then you bring in Blacephalon, which just mind blows to get 1 or 2 KOs, and then it's really hard for your opponent to stop it from doing what it wants to. So I really like that. Drapion, really cool pick. Like the snipe, like I don't know if Rex really has to pick a sniper mon because he is the boy that gets sniped a lot. So probably doesn't pay off too well. But we have to see. I really like Drapion. What I'm curious about is the Alcremie. Like Alcremie is a good Gmax mon. I really like Alcremie. It's a little bit slow, but it's bulky enough, and the Gmax move is kind of cool. But the only thing I don't see is a really good way to proc the policy. Like Alcremie doesn't have to run policy, but it really likes to have the policy, and I don't see the best way to trigger the policy, honestly. Maybe I'm missing something, but as of right now, I don't see it. But obviously, Alcremie has another niche move with Decorate, which even goes through Max Guard. So, for example, you could go for you could put your Regirock behind screens, and then like try to get in your Alcremie and decorate your Regirock even through Max Guard, which makes it even harder to beat down. So you have a lot of different stuff that you can go for. Typing wise, like I think they have exactly every typing in the game once. Like there's no double typing if I looked correctly, which obviously is amazing. Like you can't do it better. So props to them. Speed control wise, I have 3 out of 4 points because the lack of the trick room, but everything else, like Meowstic Noivern on their own, provides so much speed control that it's easily a 3 out of 4. And oh, something I missed was the Cinccino. I wanted to say something to Cinccino. I think Cinccino is a really good tier 4 pick. Like it's really fast, and skilling Technician is really good. Like it can KO a lot of Pokemon even with Focus Sash because of the skilling ability, and has so many moves to make up for it. Like it has Rock Blast, Bullet Seed, it has its signature move. I don't know how it's called. I think, I don't know, something Slap. I can't remember right now. It's a really cool one. I just wanted to say that because I really like the Cinccino pick. Modes wise, I gave it a 2.5 out of 3 because the lack of the trick remote. Like Regirock is the counter trick remote, but that's not a real trick remote. And like everything else is cool. Like as I said, the Blacephalon Noivern stuff is cool. The only thing I also don't see is the Alcremie setup. So if there was something for Alcremie to set it up, it could be a 3 for me. But as of it's right now, it's a 2.5. General support, you have Meowstic, you have Noivern, and that's pretty much a 3 out of 3 on its own because it was pretty much my only support I had last season, and they did everything I needed them to do, so I can't give anything lower than the maximum. Offensive wise, it's for me a 2. Like you have some heavy hitters in Durant and Blacephalon, and that's pretty much it, to be honest. Like Durant relies on its hustle ability and on Dynamax to do really much damage. Like it doesn't need them to do some damage, but it needs them to do massive damage. Blacephalon, like it does massive damage, but it's super frail, and at best it gets out 1 or 2 attacks most times. So it's not like it's a threat when it's on the field, but it won't stay on the field for too long. And besides that, there's not too much offensive right away. Like obviously Regirock, Alcremie, they are scary, but they need setup. It's similar to Shokensal's team in some regard. They also lacked someone that just come on the field and be offensive right away. And bulk-wise, it's for me honestly only at 1.5 because Regirock is pretty much the only real tanky one. Everything else really relies on the screens. Like Alcremie is decently bulky, but the HP set is not the highest, and yeah, without Gigantamax and without screens, it's not bulky enough, and everything else is really not bulky. And you have a lot of Pokemon that kinda likes Focus Sash, like Neuven likes it. It doesn't need it, but it likes it. Cinccino likes it. Blacephalon likes it. Durant likes it from time to time as well to shine. So it's really hard to switch around with this team, I think. And it's also really hard to solo the Trick Room because this team doesn't have too much bulk. But maybe you can make up for it with the screens. I just don't see it too much. And yeah, this makes up for 16 points with a very solid 8 out of 10 as a grade. And yeah, Rex, maybe you can explain something that we missed.
Okay, thank you very much, both of you. Maybe I have to say first that we are two people which kind of talk to each other to do a team together where both dream picks are into. So my partner told me about his picks he wanted to have, and I told him what picks I wanted to have. And our main goal was to pick Pokemon which are mostly under the radar, which I think the team overall is in general. A lot of picks are under the radar, and we never used before in the draft league. So this was our main goal, because we wanted to try out Pokemon, and we wanted to find out all these Pokemon are good or bad in the draft league. So like for Blacephalon or Alcremie, we never played them before, but on Alcremie, my partner wanted this Pokemon. This was his main goal, his main pick. Like for me was Durant, and so I said, okay, just let's go for it. Let's try it out. I know we are lacking of some instant offensive pressure. I have to admit that, of course. And we know that, but because our main goal was to pick some under the radar mons, it's not that easy. I think bulk-wise, I don't. Let's not say to accept it, but I have to add that I think this team is quite bulky, to be honest. Yeah, of course, the Blacephalon is not that bulky, and this little guy in tier 4 as well not, but I think Poliwrath is quite bulky, Drapion is quite bulky, Eviolite, Mammothwine Jr. I'm really off Pillow-Swine. I'm really off words today. Regirock is quite bulky, and even Rotom in my opinion is bulky. Okay, it has not a high HP, but the general bulk, it's very good. And Alcremie has a very high special defense and can be quite offensive as well. Yeah, I have to admit the Trick Room mode isn't quite there, of course, but we decided to do some picks to avoid Trick Room or to swipe a Trick Room user, which are most often are Ghost or Psychic types. And I think if you look over the team, you can see we have a lot of options to stop Ghost and Psychic types to set up Trick Room. Yeah, and in general, like I said, there's some off picks here. And this is wanted. We wanted that. We get sniped a lot, kind of. Not in the early rounds. I think it started at round 6. Yeah. At round 6, it started with a Shokensal, which sniped us the Magneton, and then it goes on and on and on. But yeah, we adjusted our plan a lot because the Rotom for example, was a result of adjusting our plan to have two tier 4 picks, which we didn't have at first sight, but we needed something that stops bulky water types. This is what the team lacked of until the end. But we did quite an analysis what the other teams needed at this rounds, and we were pretty sure that we get the Rotom Mo in the end. And it's kind of a discount Rotom, and I think the ability to have a Pokemon which fits or which filled our speed gap. Because we needed something between 75 to 95, and this is why we picked the Rotom. So it fits quite well, and the Drapion as well too. Yeah, I think overall I'm quite happy to try this team out. Not all of the picks I would have done on my own personally, of course, but yeah, we did this as a team, and this is the result. And I see a lot of points you did here, and you mentioned something, and you revealed some techs as well we didn't want to tell about in our team analysis or team preview.
I'm really sorry for that.
No problem.
But Kev asked what Blacephalon does, to be fair.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But I don't want to reveal even more, because we have some options to proc even a weakness policy on Alcremie pretty easily. Just to say
I'm
that.
hyped for that.
Yeah, okay. And I think Gmax Alcremie, it's kind of off pick, but I think it's not only a supportive Pokemon. Offensively, it can be quite strong, and if you not be aware of, it just stays on the field and heals the partner Pokemon as well, and you maybe not be able to get rid of if you're not prepared well for it. And I think our overall plan was as well to have a team which you can't directly prepare for. You can't say, okay, they will bring pretty short this mode and this mode and this mode. This is why these picks look quite off, to have a lot of potential to surprise the opponent. We will see what we can do with this team, but yeah, this is the end result here. And yeah, I think everything is told about the team, so we can just skip to the next team if you haven't something to say to that Alpine Alcremie.
No, nothing more
okay.
to say.
Okay.
No more text to be revealed.
Except for...
No, I'm really sorry for that. This wasn't intentional.
No problem. I think a lot of people will forget anyhow, so...
Everybody is running the same fair risk of getting the tactics revealed, should be fine.
Yeah, of course.
We're being mean to everybody.
Okay, you told now.
We revealed the beat up Virizion and the Surf Colossal tag.
Oh, damn.
How could you?
So we swap to the next team.
Colossal.
Yeah, speaking of Colossal, but not quite. Did I get off the team chart? So the next team is the
Josuel Washakwil.
Okay.
The German bravery.
Yeah, I have the wrong graphics. Okay, here. So maybe I can start.
I don't mind.
Go ahead.
Okay. So at first look, I was quite confused about the team, because it looks kind of sometimes, in my opinion, because you have a lot of niche picks. I think. I mean, you have on the support side the Riolu, which is awesome, by the way. I like it, but at the same way you have the Sneasel, you have the Butterfree, and the Sandslash, and the Rufflet, which in my opinion are all kind of weird, because they're not that bulky. So I think they can just swept in one round, and you not be able to have a set on every Pokemon. I mean, you don't have to bring them, of course, to a single game, all of them, but a kind of niche, I think. I know Ruffled with the Hustle ability can do a lot of damage, if it played correctly. But because of the speed stat is quite low, you have to set up for that, in my opinion. Same goes with Sandslash. It's a good Pokemon in general, but there is no Sand mode directly here in this team. Besides, you go for the Colossal, but the Colossal here as well is not as good as the G-Max form, because you have not this residual damage, in my opinion, which just gives a bonus to the G-Max form. Not that means not that the normal Colossal is not good overall, but because you have this Sneasel here, you can go with a Surf and proc a Weakness Policy and boost the Speed Step +6 and do some shit with it as well. But yeah, overall, I think those picks are kind of odd, and I would like to see what the Washakwil will do with those picks. The other picks, the G-Max Grimslan, I think it's a very good Pokemon. I mean, the G-Max form, of course, is quite odd because the signature move gives a yawn on the opposing side to both Pokemon, but you have a 50-50 to make that happen. So it can be cool, but the special death drops from a Max Darkness is, in my opinion, way more beneficial than this RNG signature move. But Grimsal in general is an awesome Pokemon. You can use it offensively with potential Frisk. You can Prankster this Pokemon. You can even go with a Pickpocket mode if you want to. The Thundurus, I mean, Thundurus is awesome as a Prankster Pokemon as well. You can do a lot of shit with it. Offensively, it hits very hard. It can have the Defiant ability as well in this generation, which makes it maybe even harder to stop if you have an Intimidator or a Snarl Pokemon, or you want to have to drop the stats of the opposing side, and then the Thundurus is there to takes the boosts. The Gastrodon here is nice. I like Gastrodon, but I just see it here to have an ability to support the Sandslash and the Colossal mode a little bit. But what I don't see here that good is a Trick Room mode. I mean, they have the Mimikyu, which is awesome, and it's kind of safe to make the Trick Room happen. But you have to play it with the Colossal, with the Min Speed maybe, and the Gastrodon, and maybe a Room Service Berserker. I mean, in general, I like Berserker. A lot of people will be surprised how much damage this Pokemon can do, and the move pool is very good. And even on the support side, it can do a lot of stuff like Fake Out. I played it I think in Series 3 with Metal Burst to Oko Dracovish, which is an awesome feeling. And you can even Dynamax it, and it can do a lot of damage. I would have liked to see another Steel type here in this team, which would make that Steely Spirit ability way more awesome, because the Steely Spirit ability boosts Berserker's Steel type moves and the partner Steel type moves to 50%. So you have quite two bands, if you say so, for Steel type moves. So maybe a Lucario would have been cool here. But I think in general this team has some cool Pokemon on their own, but I personally see not that big of synergy here. They have some good modes to control speed. They have a redirection ability with the Butterfree and Rage Powder, which as well can put your opponents to sleep with Sleep Powder as well. With boosted accuracy because of the ability. But yeah, in general, I would say it so. I will be looking forward how the Washakwil will perform and do what they do with this team, because I'm kind of curious.
I think
Okay.
did you give all the points yet?
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't run through the scoreboard. Sorry. Because this team looks quite odd to me. Type-wise, I would say I would give it a 2 out of 4. Speed control, I can see, but I think not that. It's tricky. I mean, they have a prankster Pokemon, three of them. Maybe they sniped a lot of people because they picked 3 sniper Pokemon, 3 prankster ones. But
I think they pranked us.
oh yeah. Okay, I give you that joke. But only because of the pranksters, I wouldn't give that higher ranking. I think a 2.5 is good enough for that. Mode-wise, I don't know. Maybe I give them a 1.5 because they have some modes, but they are kind of obvious, in my opinion. General support is there, probably, yeah. I think I give them a 3. Offense, not instantly, I would say. They need some setup for that. Only the Thunderous I see as a big instant threat, so I would give them, I'm very sorry, just 1.5. I'm very sorry. I think I'm the mean guy now. And on the
Don't worry.
And on the bulk side, like I said at the first words I said, I think it's not that bulky. This team is not quite that bulky. They have a Gastrodon, of course. They can set screens, yeah. And the Berserker on the defensive side can be quite bulky, but I think that's it. So even on that regard, I have give them a 1.5. So I have a points of 12 with a grade of 6 for the Washakwil.
Okay, great.
Right. Should I continue or do you want to?
I don't mind. I can, but you can do as well.
Okay, then I'll just tap in right here. I think this is an interesting team, and I have to say I'm super excited to play this team again, because it's the second time in a row that I get the Colossal Mirror match in the UGA, so this is going to be fun, hopefully. Last time it was an interesting match, so I'm looking forward to that one. Yeah, looking at the team, I have to agree with R.EX, it is a bit weird, in my opinion. It's kind of, it feels like it is all over the place, and as if some snipes have happened, or, I don't know, some picks weren't as well planned as others maybe, or, I don't know, maybe they had to deviate from their original draft plan, who knows. The first thing that came to my mind is that there's quite a lot of duplicate typings, like we have 2 ground types, we've got 3 flying types, there's 2 dark types, there's 2 fairy types, and we are lacking some types, like Psychic, which in my opinion is quite valuable to have, and even the grass type, which you should always have, especially if you have something like Gastrodon on your team, you usually want to cover for that a bit better. So that's kind of lackluster in my opinion. But the individual Pokemon, I quite like them. There's some very prominent picks, like the Grimmsnarl G-Max, of course. It's, in my opinion, a really cool G-Max, especially because you kind of get that for the screens for free in your G-Max slot, which is amazing, and you have the Prankster, and because you have all the prank summons anyways on this team, you can also run Frisk on a Grimmsnarl to, again, just scout the opposing items and find sneaky strategies. I guess even some really weird niche strategies with Pickpocket could happen here, since you don't necessarily always need the Prankster. You do have the Riolu on the team, which also gets the copycat prankster, of course. And this is also what I like about the team in terms of Trick Room. Yes, Mimikyu is not the best Trick Room setter. It can get it up reliably, but afterwards it doesn't really like to be in the Trick Room. But with the Riolu, you've got something to get the Trick Room up guaranteed, like no matter what, which is extremely nice. And you can, of course, also copycat different moves here, which always gives you a lot of versatility. Butterfree, I'm not the biggest fan of Butterfree. I think we had the topic in the previous episode as well, where we already said, like, you do have Rage Powder and so on, but Rage Powder, while being a nice form of redirection, it's not the really good form of redirection in terms of a draft league, because your opponent can just bring the safety goggles, but at least you get to force them bringing the safety goggles, and you can also completely avoid bringing your Butterfree and not bring Rage Powder at all, and then they completely wasted that slot. So that's still good. It's just not as good as it gets, I would say. A problem that I see here is what Rex already pointed out. There's a lot of Pokemon that would like to have the Focus Sash in this team, so you can't bring them all at once. Of course, you can still bring 6 Pokemon to a match anyways, only. So, if you kind of mix it up here, you can rotate the Focus Sash, I guess. Speed control-wise, I do like the team. I mean, we've got the Prankster Tailwind, one of the few in the game, which is amazing. Thunderous Prankster Tailwind is really strong.
It doesn't get Tailwind. Or does it? I think only Tornadus gets Tailwind.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Oh,
get
that's Tornadus. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then never mind me.
But it has Fairy Phase and Thunder Wave, so
I completely missed that. But yeah, that's still, you still get nice support moves, at least with the Prankster. And you also have the Defiant. If you face someone like me with double Intimidate, you can be really annoying with that. And I think especially in a draft league, it's something that your opponent has to consider. And then the Mimikyu. Mimikyu is interesting. It can hit quite hard, especially if you slap a Life Orb onto it, for example. But what I'm kind of missing here is a nice partner for the Mimikyu, where it can maybe also go for Shadow Sneak and activate a weakness policy, and then everybody goes crazy and it's like, oh no, weakness policy, I have to be careful now. But we don't actually see a nice mode for that here. As Rex also pointed out, I'm kind of missing a Sand mode here to support the Sand Slash. Since they don't have Gigantamax Colossal, Colossal can set up Sand for Sand Slash, which is okay, I guess, but it's not ideal. At least you can still bring in Sand Slash after the max move and then maybe clean up the field a little bit, but it's not the strongest Sand mode that you can have. So a reliable Sand setter would be better, I want to say. And in terms of support, there's some nice stuff. The redirection always is nice to have, even though it's not the strongest. You've got all the Prankster, you've got all the Frisk. Not all the Frisk, but you've got the Frisk. So that's support options that I always really like in draft leagues. And you also have Gastrodon, which can do some nice things on the bulky support side. I really enjoyed that the last season. If I may give you a tip here, don't bring Assault vs Gastrodon with Protect and Recover. I totally didn't do that, but just a word of warning in case you would plan to do so. And then of course there's the Riolu, which can opt in as a support to do a lot of funny things with the copycat. I think Global and Devon in the previous season always showed some fancy stuff with that, so it's something you have to be careful for. In terms of bulk, I don't really like this team. The only really bulky option I see in this team is the Gastrodon. Gastrodon can be extremely bulky. That is quite nice because it also covers the main weakness of Colossal quite well, and it has Storm Drain and so on. But to be honest, that's not enough. I mean, you can argue Mimikyu can be bulky, and it can have kind of unexpected bulk with the Disguise ability, which can be annoying in sometimes. But the only other option that I can see that you can play bulky here is the Grimmsnarl, and even that isn't too bulky then, in my opinion. So there's not the nicest options, and because there's a lot of shared weaknesses, like the rock type weakness, lightning weakness, and you don't get a lightning rod on this team, if I'm correct. And there's also water type weakness. You do have Storm Drain, but you know, once Gastrodon is off the field, you're gonna be in a bad spot. And because you have a 4x grass weakness and additional other grass weaknesses on your team, it might not be the most reliable way to mitigate your water type weakness. In terms of offense, the team has some potential, but again, is kind of relying on getting set up. You need to set up Colossal, which you can do almost always with the Sneasel, but not in all occasions. And you are reliant to have both of them on the field at the same time. And if this doesn't happen, you also end up in awkward spots where you might not get Surf up in time, or you maybe cannot Dynamax your Coal anymore or whatever. Mimikyu, as I said, can be quite hard-hitting, so I like this as an offensive capability. And the Berserker, in my opinion, can really throw off your opponent. It has a super high base attack for a tier 3 mon. It's, I think, 112 or 110 or something like that. And you definitely have to respect the Tough Claws ability, which can do quite a lot. I think it's additional 30%, and the Steely Spirit is even more because it increases the Steel stat by a lot. And as I think Rex already said, it also has a nice move pool in a way, so you can do a lot of different things with the Berserker, and I'm looking forward to see that in action. It's a really cool mon that I like to play earlier in VGC, so looking forward to see it in a draft league, actually. But aside from these 3 Pokemon, and maybe the Thundurus, I don't think it has the strongest offensive potential, which is why, as for points, I ended up with a 2 out of 4 in the typing. As I said, a lot of duplicates and some important typings are missing. I do like the speed control options, so this is a 3 out of 4 for me. I actually don't see too many modes. Like, mode-wise, there's the Colossal and the Sneasel lead, yeah, but it kind of... I also do have experience with this from the last season, and I'm kind of sorry to say that, but it feels like this team is partially making the same mistakes that my team did last season. It still can perform quite well, but there's no Aqua Jet that can help the Colossal here, for example, and that's kind of can be kind of lackluster. And I also don't see too many other modes aside from that. Mimikyu and Trick Room or Riolu with Copycat can do some things, but it's not the strongest modes in my opinion, so I can only give it a 1 out of 3 in this case. In terms of general support, it brings a lot to the table. Not everything, but already quite a lot, and especially because of all the prankster in the team, I think you have to give it at least a 2 out of 3. It could definitely be better in terms of support. There's some things that it lacks, but you can do a lot if you really want to. Offensively and bulky, and in terms of bulk, I only gave 1 out of 3 for both, because as I just explained, in my opinion, there's just at least one more capability for each category, bulk and offense, missing to really make it pop and really make it interesting, and that kind of feels a bit underwhelming at the moment. Which gets me to 10 points and a total grade of 5.
Okay, great. I will just go through the scoring board and say what my thoughts about the team are as I go, because like I think this team does not have too much things that I can say that didn't got mentioned by you two guys already. So typing wise, like he misses 5 typings, and this is the case although he has 8 Pokemon with dual typings, and in general with so many dual typings you should have most typings in the game, but he has so many dual types and still misses 5 types. This makes sure that he has so many like duplicated typings that it's really confusing to me, and I can't give him a better rating. Like I gave the Norwegian Dalmatians a 1.5 because they have a bajillion flying types, but they at least had most typings in the game. But this team doesn't even have these typings, so I can't give it a equally rating. So I'm going with a 1, and I could even go lower if I would be really harsh. Speed control wise, however, it's for me a solid 4 out of 4. Like, it has Tailwind as an option with Butterfree. It has Thunderous which has Scary Face, which has Thunderwave, which has Max Airstream as a supportive option. Grimmsnarl has the trick Legging Tail stuff. It has Trick Iron Ball. It has Scary Face. It has also Thunderwave. Then you have Mimikyu with Trick Room, which is one of the best Trick Room setters in the game. Like, you can't fake it out, and you most times can't OHKO it, and especially with Riolo, you can't deny the Trick Room at all with the Copycat. And he has 2 fake out users to make really sure that he gets the Trick Room if he really wants to. I'm not counting that he can't really play in Trick Room. Speed control for me is just that he can make sure that he gets the stuff up if he really wants to. And then he has Sneasel with Icy Wind. Sneasel also can't get faked out. And speed control wise, like, Colossal is also somehow speed control. Like, Colossal doesn't change the speed, but it's a way to make sure you go faster than your opponents. So speed control wise, I think he has a lot of options. Mode wise, it's only 1 out of 3. Like, yes, you have Thunderous. Thunderous with Assault Vest can be quite bulky, especially if you coach it with Riolo. That's a solid mode. Like, you also can go Bullet Punch on the Grimmsnarl to proc the weakness policy, and maybe give Riolo something like an Assault Vest, so Grimmsnarl is also really bulky on that side, or a Life Orb or something like that, so to proc the Pickpocket ability. That's really cool. You can go for Mimikyu, Trick Room stuff, Colossal, obviously it's a mode, but in general, like, these modes, like, you have some modes that can operate on their own, but they don't benefit from each other. Like, if you go for Trick Room, you can't really go for Thunderous, and you can't really go for Sneasel Colossal anymore. And also the modes kinda rely on Dynamax. Like, Thunderous and Colossal, they really want the Dynamax. Mimikyu doesn't really need the Dynamax, but if it wants to do massive damage, kinda needs the Trick Room. Not the Trick Room, the Dynamax, or at least a Sword Stand setup. And same goes for Gastrodon. Like, it needs a Surf proc to be offensive, and that's not really a mode. And yeah, like, you have a lot of support options, so you can maybe figure out some hidden modes, but I don't think there's a hidden mode that can be really strong on this team. General support wise, like, you have 3 Prankster users, which all of them have some unique stuff. Like, Grimmsnarl has the screens, Thunderwave has Eerie Impulse, Scary Face, and Thunderwave, which is really cool, and also Swagger. Riolo is one of the few copycat and coaching users. I think it's the only copycat and coaching user in the game. And you have dual fake out. You have and Sneasel, which can't get faked out, and you have Butterfree with Rage Powder. Like, you have a lot of support options. I think this team has all the support in the world, but it just doesn't have the tools to make work out of the support that this team has. It's like a support toolbox without the tools to utilize the support that's given to the partners. Offensive wise, it's only 1 for me at best. Like, and that's because Colossal and Thunderous are really strong when they are in a good position. But as I said, they really they really rely on the Dynamax. And I think if you deal with the main Dynamax on the team, he doesn't have any offense left. And since, like, both of them are also weak to rock, so if you have a strong rock type, this team kinda struggles to deal with that. And it's not good if your 2 main modes and your 2 best modes are weak to the same stuff, because they can't even get rid of rock types really easily with their steps. And bulk wise, like, it's a 1.5. Like, I can't go lower. 1.5 is the absolute minimum. And, like, you have a bajillion mons that are really squishy, and, like, it's not like you could run Eviolite on Riolu, Sneasel, or Rufflet. Like, they are so squishy. Even with Eviolite, they struggle to take a hit, so you pretty much have to run Focus Sash. And Butterfree also wants to Focus Sash. It's just not good. It's a little bit too much. It's similar to the overlapping in typings, and everything else is really squishy. Like, yes, you have the screens, but it's like the Alpine Alcremie had some Pokemon that can benefit from the screens, but this team, even with screens, it doesn't take a hit most of the spawns, especially since the Volkimons with Gastron and Colossal have 4 times weaknesses that you can take advantage of as an opponent. So overall, it's a 10.5 reach points, and yeah, like, it's a little bit better than the 5 as a grade. And that's everything I have to say about the Josuel Washakwils.
Okay, then. I think the only thing I have to add here is because I know in other league there is a coach that has the Riolu and the Mimikyu, and he was able to make the Mimikyu the kill board leader, just because he always went through Dynamax Mimikyu and go just for straight up coaching the whole time. And because of the defense drops you gain as well with the Dynamax, Mimikyu swept nearly every team. And this week for week, I mean, okay, it's a special league, but just as an addition here to mention that the most offensive mode I can see here is the Riolu and the Mimikyu. And then we just jump to the last team for today, I think.
I think we only have done 3 teams so far. We started with the Shokensal.
No, we're... Oh, yeah. We are at the 4th with the next one.
The 4th? Okay, then my scoreboard is wrong. Okay, then we're at Enju Citizens?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, Enju Citizens. Okay, so who will want to start from you?
I can start if
Okay.
you want to. Okay, I will go to the typing at first. Like, I just put all the typings I could have found on my type chart, and he misses the most. Like, some teams miss some typings, but he is the leader in that regard. He misses ice typing. He misses fighting typing. If I didn't look, yeah, if I look correctly, he misses fighting. Ground, bug, rock, ghost, dragon, dark, and fairy. Like, I have never seen that. He has only 4 dual typings, but with the Pokemon that only have 1 typings, he doesn't bring a new typing. For example, Willaboom, he already has fungus. For Coughing, he already has fungus. Porygon 2, he already has Braviary. Like, I don't get that. He also has VMAX Garbodor as another poison type. Like, you have triple poison, and we said that some teams that like poison, it doesn't matter because poison is not a really good typing. And he's like, I'm the toxic guy. I really like my poison Pokemon. I don't need the other typings. Like, I don't want to be harsh, but it's just really odd to me. And to be honest, like I said, 0.5 is the minimum for me, and I will stick to that. Honestly, I would really like to give a 0 for that, but I said 0.5 is the minimum for me, and I will stick to that. So 0.5 in typings, I can't say anything else to it. Speed control wise, let's take a look. Like, here's Porygon, one of the best Trick Room setters in the game. It's really hard to deny Trick Room from Porygon. Like, your only way basically is to taunt it or to fake it out. Like, it's pretty much impossible to O-code, especially in Draft League where you can EV for specific stuff. So that's really good. Then he has Mantine and Braviary for Tailwind, and it's really solid. And especially since Raichu can support them with the Lightning Rod, it's hard to KO Mantine. And with the Fake Out, like, you basically get your Tailwind if you want to. Also, Raichu has like Electro Revive and Nuzzle, so you have a lot of speed control options. Probably something is missing, like you don't have something like Ice Event, and you don't have the best Aldous user. Like Rillaboom is decent, I would say. But besides that, like, okay, I miss Politoed. Politoed is a solid speed control. So you could argue 4-4, but for that there is like the tailwind users aren't the fastest tailwind users, and I don't know. It's not enough for a 4 for me. I will give it a solid 3.5. Modes wise, I really like some stuff here. Like obviously, I really like Porygon, Metagross, Politoed. I really like this mode. Porygon, Metagross, I used it in Players Cup 2 to qualify for the Global Finals, and it's really strong. Porygon gets the trick move for Metagross, and Metagross supports Porygon with Max Quakes and Max DS Quakes to make Porygon even tankier, even scarier to deal with, and like Porygon can also proc the weakness policy in Metagross with a very weak Shadow Ball if you really want to, which is kinda cool. Also, they cover each other super well defensively. Like Metagross doesn't like ghost types, and Porygon just switches into it. That's really solid. Like, also Porygon 2 with EU Impulse also further supports the Metagross. So these two are really strong together, and paired that up with Politoed, it's really good. Like Politoed also protects Metagross from fire types, so that also benefits the weakness policy strat that you most times run on Metagross. Also, like Metagross, Porygon 2, Politoed, it's really hard to KO them once they get rolling. And if they get 2 KOs, like Politoed can just set up the Perish Song and it's over. So these three on their own can win some games. Rillaboom also benefits from this stuff. Like it's the same as for Metagross. It really likes the rain, and it deals with the nasty water types that these three kind of struggle to KO. So this is a very solid mode. You get your speed control are very reliable, and you have multiple ways to proc Metagross weakness policy. So I really like that. Then you also have like Mantine Politoed, obviously. That's really good. It's really hard to switch into Mantine with Dynamax and Life Orb. It doesn't have the best special attack set, but it's solid enough, and it has Max Ooze to even more increase the special attack. And if you pair that up with a rather offensive Politoed, you can steamroll your opponents. It's like Kingdra and Politoed, but Mantine even gets stab on the airstream, so that's really strong. The Fungus also works well in supporting that. Like if your Politoed goes down, you can just bring a Fungus or Raichu to support the Mantine. I think that's a really solid mode. Like you have this super fast mode, and then you have the Trick Room mode with Metagross, Porygon 2 in the back. Like you could just need Porygon, not Porygon, Politoed, Mantine, steamroll your opponent, and then have Porygon, Metagross in the back. I really like this core. So mode-wise, that's really solid. You also have a Trick Room mode with Metagross, Fungus. Besides that, it's not too much. Like Metagross is pretty much the only real mode. I think you really rely on Metagross and Mantine. Everything else doesn't do a lot of damage, but you have good ways to support this mode. Like Torracat also pairs up super well with Rillaboom. So I give it, I would say a 2. General support, like you have triple fake out with Raichu, Rillaboom, Torracat. I love this core. I used something like that a lot. Like all of them can pivot out, all of them can fake out, all of them have something unique. Like Torracat has the Intimidate, Rillaboom brings the Terrain, Raichu brings the Lightning Rod. It's a lot of control, and it's also really good to stall out the Perish Songs turns in the end. I really like that. So these three alone give you so many support options, but then you have Coughing to screw up some strats of your opponent. Like a lot of teams we have seen so far rely on abilities like beat up stuff, Colossus setup. Really good and really unique support option. And you have Redirection with Fungus, you have Bravery with Defiant, which is somehow a support, although you don't have to. Like, Metagross doesn't care about Intimidate as well as Mantine, so maybe Bravery doesn't do too much on this team because your team doesn't fear Intimidate too much, but it's still an option. And so overall, I would say it's, for me, a 2. Like, you have a lot of support options, but not too much. Like, you don't have screens or something like that. But the triple Falcon is really cool. Offensive fight, I already said, you really rely on Metagross and Mantine. Like, Porygon can be offensive. Same goes for, like, Rillaboom. But in general, even if they run offensively, they don't just sweep teams and Oko them. So you pretty much rely on 2 Pokemon, and like without the rain, Mantine doesn't do too much. And Metagross also, like, it does a lot of damage when the policy is proc or if it hits stuff for super effective. But if you just ignore the Metagross and have a way to deal with it outside of Dynamax, even with the boost, you just destroy it. Because Metagross is also not super fast, so if you, for example, just burn it and ignore it in Dynamax, it doesn't do anything to you. So offensively, I think this team lacks some stuff. I will only give it a 1.5. However, bulk-wise, it's like the bulk is there, only the typings are missing. Like Metagross, Porygon 2, Rillaboom are really bulky. Politoed can be run super bulky, and you have like Torracat and Fungus to support this bulk even more. Mantine is super bulky on the special side. You can make up for the physical side with Max D-Spike and with Intimidate, but like the lack of typings is what makes this team, like, makes the overall bulk of the team really lackluster. I think you're pretty much forced to bring Metagross, Politoed, Rillaboom, Torracat, Raichu to pretty much every game because, like, Garbodor is not a good mon. Coughing is a mon that you can't bring to, like, you can only bring it to niche matchup. Fungus you can kinda sponge it, but sometimes it doesn't do enough. Like, if the opponent has one Pokemon that really scares you, it just will get safety Gaga and then your Fungus is useless. And yeah, Garbodor, as I said, is really bad. So I think you rely on pretty much 5 to 6 Pokemon every time. And if your opponent can deal with it, you don't have too much bulk because you don't have other Pokemon that you can swap into your squad to make up for the weaknesses. So overall, I would say because you can't switch a lot, I would only give it a 1.5 in bulk, which overall is 11 points. So slightly better than the Josuel Washakwil, but even like here also a lot of things that you can do better. I think if he swaps out the Pokemon that don't bring new typings to the table and brings in some typings that he misses, this team can very quickly become a lot better. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about it.
I would say I continue Orkev, if it's fine with you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I quite like the team, to be honest, because I think here's someone with a clear strategy from the beginning. I would say he didn't get sniped that often, because I think this G-Max Garbodor just is there to add this 50 points. I think you gain 50 points because G-Max Garbodor is in the tier 3 of the G-Max tier. I mean, you can make use of it. I saw some people in the draft league which made use of the Garbodor because this the poisoning residual damage is quite good if the positioning fits to the matchup. But
Only does normal poison, however, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
but it's residual damage.
Yeah,
So-
but it's only like it's basically as much as you recover with leftovers. It's really low,
Yeah,
but it's there.
yeah, it's there. And I think, like I said, the only reason because the G-Max Garbodor could be to be able to pick Metagross, Rillaboom, and the Porygon, because I think he's just quite clearly just running 2 modes, and I think he will bring Politoed nearly to every week, because the rain mode is quite beneficial here, especially, and the Raichu probably as well, because it supports the Braviary, the Mantine, very good, and I think the Fungus here with the Rage Powder can be quite beneficial for the team depending on the matchup. Because I mean, you can run Spore as well, which could be quite nice. I think the Politoed is kind of a key figure here in this team because it supports a lot of stuff. I mean, it triggers the Swift Swim. It kind of supports the Metagross with the Rain and the Rillaboom as well. Of course, there is the potential for the opposing side to drop a free Hurricane in the rain against the Rillaboom, but you have some outs for that, especially the Metagross as a switch in for flying type moves. I think he has some offensive potential. I mean, the Politoed in the rain can do damage. The Mantine, of course, in the rain can do a lot of damage. It has speed control as well with Max Airstream. It's very special bulky, so you won't be even able to drop that Mantine with a Thunderbolt, even though a stepped Thunderbolt. The Porygon, I think it's not only a support Pokemon, because you see it on the ladder quite often as an offensive Pokemon as well. Because of this, if it gains this this analytic, not analytic, this is it analytic boost? I think so. Not.
It's analytic.
Yeah. It can be hit quite hard. And I think he has some bulk. I mean, he can make use of screens, even though on the Raichu, depending on the matchup. But I think it's very clear that he has 2, maybe 3 modes he want to run, and that's it. And it's maybe not the best thing to have for a draft league, but if your playstyle is like that way and it fits your playstyle and you like that, I mean, you just can go for it. Okay, this is kind of if you look at it as an objective standing point, because we have this point scale, or this I'm sorry, I'm quite off here. I'm very done with my language today. I think type-wise, like Chulainn said, it lacks a lot of typings, which could be problematic for him because the opposing side just can prepare very easily for the team. But that does not mean that even though you know what you're facing, that you're able to stop it. But I would give it a 2 out of 4 because I think the type synergy overall is very good. Speed control, I think there is some speed control, but it's lacking, in my opinion, a good trick room mode here. Because, I mean, the Fungus is a very passive mon, so this is not a trick room option, in my opinion. So I would give it a 3 out of 4 on speed control wise. Mode wise, I mean, there's up to 3 modes I can see here, but that's it. So I would give it maybe a 1.5 out of 3. General support is there, in my opinion. I think the coughing is maybe just for some matchups like not Regigigas, but maybe Colossal or something like that. Maybe something that threatens this team that much because of some modes the opposing side can run to avoid that a little bit, if you have no really answers. Which is quite bad, but maybe this is why the coughing is here. So general support, I mean, it has Raichu, it has the Fungus, it has the Porygon, it has the Politoed, the Torracat. The Rillaboom can be a good supportive Pokemon as well, if you want to. I mean, it can have, of course, Fake Out, Snarl, Screech, I think. No, Scary Face at least. Scary Face. And some moves as well. So I think I would give it a 3 out of 3. The offense, I mean, there is the Metagross and the Rillaboom, which can be quite hard hitter, but everything else, in my opinion, has to set up a little bit or needs the support from maybe things like Screech or also or the Defiant boost on a Bravery or a Sword Stance or something like that. So I think because of that and the lacking of instant offensive pressure, I would give it a 1.5 out of 3. And bulk-wise, I think this team is quite bulky, even though he has 3 potential Evilite user, but because you can bring only 6 Pokemon, I think, in my opinion, it's fine. Politoed is bulky, Bravery is quite bulky in my opinion, Mantine as well, Metagross as well, Rillaboom is quite bulky, Porygon, even though if you saw some championship matches, maybe from 2016, you will know that a Raichu can quite bulky as well. So I would give it a 2.5 out of 3, so which makes a total points of 13.5 and a grade of 6.75. But I have to add that I kind of like the team for that what it is.
Alright, then I'll try to wrap the Enju Citizens up with a quick rundown of my points, because most of what you guys already said covers my points. Typing wise, I actually gave it a 0 out of 4, because yes, I think the types present do cover each other quite well, but at the same time he's also missing 50% of all the types in the game. So that's quite a lot that's missing, and in a draft league, I think this is just a bit lackluster, because after a time it will be really, really easy for the opponent to prepare for this and to know exactly what is going to be going on, and that probably is going to be, in my opinion, this already is the biggest downside of this team. I think you can easily make some switches in the team that get some balance in here. It doesn't even need to have all the typings, but just some of the important ones that are missing would be really interesting to see here. And as Chulainn explained, just Pokemons like the Garbodor and the Coughing and the Fungus, that is, in my opinion, a bit too much duplicate typing here. So, to be honest, I have to end up with the 0, because I already gave someone else a 2 or a 1, and also because of what's still ahead. I think this is, typing-wise, one of the worst teams that we can see in the league, even though the types do synergize quite well. But yeah, as I just said, I think it will be very apparent and obvious for the opponent what they are going to do. So, unfortunately, not that many points, and I don't want to give half points or so I stick with the 0. In terms of speed control, I think it's quite good. The Trick Room is brilliant. You can't argue with Porygon 2. I think the fast mode is a bit lackluster. I mean, it's there, it's good. You can have it, you can get it up, and you can control it quite well. But at the same time, they don't have too many super fast Pokemon. So I'm not sure if they are going to benefit from the fast mode too much, because if the opponent also gets up the fast mode or the Tailwind or whatever, then I don't think the Tailwind will be too beneficial here. It's still nice to also have some passive speed control with Drizzle and Swift Swim and all the sorts. Mode-wise, that's a 3 out of 4 for speed control for me. Mode-wise, I quite like the main modes that you just explained. I think they synergize well. I think it can be quite hard to play around these modes. But I also think it might lack a bit of variation in the long run. I think for the first 5 to 6 weeks, this will be easily one of the stronger teams that we see here, because it has a lot of nice coverage, and there's some nice mind games that you can do, and you can really control the playfield with all the fake outs that you've got here, and you have really nice pivoting options. Also, support-wise, this works quite well because you have the Fungus for redirection. And Fungus is just tier 4, so it was a really cheap pickup here. You've got the Lightning Rod to cover a lot of the weaknesses. I really like this as well. So Modes, in my opinion, is a 2 out of 3 in general support as well. It could be a tad better. You might want to add some other things here, but you can't have everything. And I think support-wise, this team already has a lot, so you don't necessarily need to add it. On the offensive side, we've got Metagross, Mantine, and Rillaboom, which can be threatening on their own already. So that's also quite the nice capabilities that we see here. And it's a 2 out of 3 for me, and bulky. You also have a lot of bulky options, and can add easily 2 to 3 bulky mons in your team with Politoed or Fungus. Can play the Torracat with Eviolite, which can be bulky enough. Coughing can be super annoying. Also quite bulky, and Raichu, if you want to play it bulky, you can play it bulky as well. So I think there's enough potential on the bulky side. There's no out-of-the-box super bulk, unless except Porygon 2. But I don't think it necessarily is required in this team. Wouldn't hurt either, but still gets me to a 2 out of 3 and brings me to a total of 11 points, which results in a 5.5.
Okay, great. Anything else to add, or shall I just continue with the Etherious Salamandra?
Yeah, I think we can continue.
Okay, shall I start, or does any one of you wants to start? I don't mind, to be honest. Okay, seems like I have to start. If I look at... Sorry, I have to drink something real quick. So, if I look at this team, like, I think the first pick was Regieleki. Regieleki is really good one. Like, it's the fastest one by far, so in a draft league, most times you don't even have to run any speed on it, and this makes up for the lack of bulk that it has. Like, most times it's not really bulky, but if you can put all the points into bulk, it can become reasonably bulky. Like, I've played some Regieleki that were able to take Precipice Blades from Groudons behind Reflect, so Regieleki can take pretty much any hit if you hit correctly and one, for example, with screens on it. So I really like that. Paired with Inteleon, it's really, really strong. Like, Inteleon, also one of the fastest Pokemon, and it has Soak, so these two together synergize super, super well. You also, like, you can't really switch into Inteleon and Regieleki. Like, Inteleon, you can't even redirect the attacks of it, and like Regieleki can even, like, sorry, I mixed something up. I had a different strategy in mind because I played Inteleon and Regieleki, but I forgot that I needed is another mon for it. So screw the last point. But still, these two are really strong together. Then you have also the 9-hit Leafeon mode. Like, having a Sun mode and already completing the Firewater Grass core is really strong. And this also synergizes with the fast-paced mode that they already have with Inteleon and Regieleki. Like, 9-hits, 100 base speed, reasonably fast. Not the fastest, but fast enough. It's faster than most things. And Leafeon 95 Chlorophyll, super, super fast. And like, Leafeon is the needed physical attacker, and I think it's really good. It also can benefit from Inteleon. Like, you can go for Soak and Leafeon stuff if you really, really want to. So overall, the synergy between these four is really well. And I want to continue with the Landorus pick. Landorus is something that this team, I think, needed. Like, some teams most times get checked by Landorus, but if you pick up Landorus yourself, they can't pick Landorus to counteract your Sun mode. So that's really, really good. Also gives you ground immunity, which so far you only had to resist in Leafeon, but 2 weaknesses, so I really like that. Also, like, ground, really good. And like having ground and flying on the same one gives you 2 immunities and another airstream user to make sure you pretty much outspeed everything you want to once you outspeed them. And like it's just a really good pivot with Virgil Aleki with a Volt Switch and U-turn on both of them. It's really solid. And then you have also the Ndidi. Like I really like Ndidi female. It's a really solid really solid follow me user. Like having follow me and being able to put up the psychic surge, it's pretty much impossible to stop you from doing what you want to if you have Ndidi on the field. So I really like that. It also synergizes with the Behemoth. Like yes, they are both psychic types, but that's fine. Like Hetherin and Ndidi, they're also both psychic types and it works. So why shouldn't it work with Behemoth, which is a really solid tier 4 pick? It doesn't have the best coverage, but in psychic terrain it does a lot of damage, especially with analytics, so I really like it. It's a really niche trick room mode, also supported by the Purloin, which I haven't mentioned so far. Leipard on Silence Team is really good. Purloin is pretty much the cheap version. Like it's Leipard in slower, which is the main downside, because bulk-wise it doesn't matter too much since both of them run Focus Sash anyways. But it does have the same support move. It has Fake Out, it has Copycat, it has Fake Tears. Fake is really strong with Reggie Aleki and Intellion, so really strong pick. Can also set up the Sunny Day, can set up the rain for Intellion, which Intellion can't do on its own. So I really like that. And then you have also Slurpuff Hitmonchan as a mode. Like you can Bullet Punch the Slurpuff to proc the Policy, proc the Unburden, and go down from that. So they have a lot of fast options, and they have Registeel to make sure they have also a stally endgame if they have to go for it. And with the heavy hitters and the heavy offense they have, it should be really easy to make sure you beat the things that beat Registeel. Like Intellion and Landorus are really good in beating down the fire and ground types that want to beat Registeel. So I really like that addition to the team. Typing wise, however, I only gave them a 2 out of 4 because like they have a lot of single type Pokemon. They only have 2 dual type Pokemons, and this makes that they missed the ice typing, the poison typing, bug, rock, ghost, and dragon. Like obviously rock, bug, poison, they are not too needed, but you miss 6 out of 18 typings, which is a third. However, you have most important types, like you have the Fire, Water, Grass core, you have Steel, you have Fairy, you have Ground. So overall, I think a 2 is still fine, even though they lack some important typings, but that's still fine. Speed controllers, I gave them a 3 out of 4. Like, as I said, you have Virgil Aleki, probably the fastest speed controller in the game. Intellion with very fast Airstream, Landorus. You have Slurpuff, which is kinda a speed control. You have the Sun mode. You have Trick Room, but besides that, like you don't have a Tailwind option, which you don't really need to because you are so fast anyways. But versus some teams, you may need it to Tailwind. So, like I can't give it a 4 because Tailwind is just crucial speed control, and they don't have a second like. No, they have Icy Wind on Intellion, so screwed it up. They only miss the Tailwind. Modes wise, I already said they have so many modes. They have the Trigger mode, they have so many hyper offensive mode, and they have the Stally Registry mode. I easily give them a 3 out of 3. General support, 2 out of 3. Like they have Follow Me, they have Terrain, they have Fake Out User, they have Prankster stuff, but Purloin doesn't get. Like, it does get some cool moves, but it doesn't get all of the moves that you may want to. And like Reggie Aleki gets the screens and stuff like that. However, overall, like you miss some stuff like you also have Intimidate, but I don't know. I think overall this team is more about the heavy hitters than the supporters, so I give it only a 2, which is still solid. Offensive wise, I actually think I have to readjust it. I gave it 2.5, but now that I talked about the team, I would say it's a 3. Like, at first I thought, okay, you have some Pokemon that don't do massive damage, but you have Reggie Aleki, Intellion, which can do massive damage with the right items and with the right sets, and they can change up how they play it each week. And all of these Pokemon do massive damage outside of Dynamax. Inteleon doesn't need it, Regieleki doesn't need it, Landorus doesn't need it, Ninetales and Leafeon doesn't need it as well, but all of them benefit from Dynamax so much, and Perlin supports most of these modes really well, and indeed with Helping Hand also, so I think also offensive-wise is really good. Bulk-wise, however, it's only 1.5 for me, because other than Registeel and Landorus, you don't have the bulkiest mons. Like, yes, Regieleki can support with the screens, and Indeedee is also reasonably bulky, but everything else is kinda squishy. So I would say it's a 1.5 in bulk, which is 14.5 points in total, and a solid 7.25 or a 7 in grade, which is really solid for the Etherious Salamandras. And as I said, if they maybe can add some of the missing typings, this team could become even better and become easily one of the teams that should advance to the playoffs. But let me know what you think about it. I'm done for today.
Thank you very much, Chulainn. Maybe I can continue then. When I first look at this team, I think, okay, this is fast mode. This is maybe the fastest team of all teams in Kalos. I mean, they have Inteleon, they have Illicky, they have the Sun mode, they have the Unburden mode with Psychic Terrain and Slurpuff. They have Prankster. Landorus is quite fast. They have a lot of priorities if they want to go for. So it's very fast, and I think they can overcome opposing teams very quickly if you're not be aware of. I mean, okay, you mentioned they have no Tailwind setter instantly, but if they're able to like Prankster taunt the Tailwind setter before, then this game can be very quickly very over, because I think the fast Pokemon here are hit over very fast as well. Illicky with this special ability, Transistor can do a lot of damage. The Inteleon can do a lot of damage. The Leafeon is a very quite hard hitter. It's bulky as well on the physical side. And the move pool is so wide. On Leafeon, at least, it can do so much stuff to boost the defense, the special defense. It can set the terrain as well if you need it. So I think and the important thing here is what I really like about this team is that the synergy is so good overall, with the terrain, with the sun, with the Pokemon on their own, because Inteleon, for example, supports not only Illicky, it can support Leafeon as well with Soak, for example. Soak is so strong here, and then there is the Landorus, which is always a threat. I mean, there are some matchups in the Dynamax meta, it's not that quite beneficial, but if you get rid of the Dynamax, you can just scarf Rockslide flinch the opposing side to insanity. It happened quite sometimes, and I like the possibilities here to proc weakness policies as well. I mean, the Hitmonchan here is quite a weakness policy proccing machine. They're one of the few teams they have Follow Me support in the Kalos Division, and one of the best in my opinion, because it brings the Psychic Terrain, which you can have on the Indeedee Psychic Seed to boost the special defense as well, and the Follow Me on the Indeedee is quite good, and it can, I don't know, but I think, can it learn Trick Room in Prison? I think it can, right? It should can.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, which is quite good as well. The thing which in my opinion the team lacks is a good Trick Room mode. I mean, it has the alien thing and the Registeel. Behem and the Registeel, which you can set up with Curse, so to make it better in Trick Room. And Behem can be quite good in Trick Room as well with the adaptability ability and the wide move pool it has, and the good natural special attack. But what I really miss here is a dragon and a ghost type. Of all types, I think those typings are very important, especially in a draft format. But I think what they picked, they synergize very well, and I quite like that. But the monotyping issue here I see as well, and it could cause issue for them because you not always have this stat bonus you maybe need to maybe get some OCOs or kills. But overall, I think type-wise, I give it a 2 out of 4 because of the lacking typings here. But on the other hand, I like how they synergize. Speed control, I think they have everything they need besides the Tailwind, and because this team is so fast and the Electro Web, I think kind of negates the lack of the Tailwind a little bit. I would give it a 3.5 out of 4. Mode-wise, I think there is so much they can do. I wouldn't be able to cover it if I think maybe in a half an hour about that. The general support, in my opinion, is clearly here with the Pearl Line, with the Ndidi, with the Hitmonchan, with the Slurpuff, which can go for after you as well. For example, the Illicky, the Inteleon can be a very good support as well. So I think I give it a 3 out of 3. Offensively, I think this team is very offensive, especially if you add the Sniper here, because it's a G-Max, and which ignores ability as well, which is an addition to that. And I think Sniper crits always hit hard. The Illicky with Transistor, the Sun Mode, the setup options they have with Sword Stance on Leafeon, with Nasty Plot on Ninetales as well, or Sword Stance on the Landorus. So I think offensively here's everything here what you need, and combined with the speed tiering, it's just quite amazing. Bulk-wise, I think, like Chulainn said, they'll lack a little bit of bulk because, I mean, Illicky and maybe Leafeon can be quite bulky, and if you add this terrain option to have a seed boost here or a screen set, it could be good, but instantly they lack a lot of bulk. I think I think I have to adjust the points I gave before from 2 to 1.5 out of 3 here. So I came to an overall points of 16 and a grade of 8, which is, I think, quite good. And I really like the team, and I think the preparation for this matchup is not an easy one. Yeah, so I give the word to Kev now.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it short once again because we are quite some time already with this video, I guess. And a lot has been said about this team already, so there's not too much to add. Typing-wise, I agree with the two of you. I think there's some really important typings missing. Dragon would have been nice to add, Ghost would have been nice to add, and Ice as well. As Chulainn explained, Bug, Rock, and Poison, they are not too important. They are nice to have, but they are not too important. I think those are really missing here, which is why I end up with 1 out of 4 points in typing. I think you also have to respect here that a lot of the other coaches managed to stack typings a little bit better, and even though, you know, the typings present here again synergize well, and you add some nice cores with just a few mons that also give you a lot of great control and so on. It's a bit lacking in the end and in completing the type set. So that's only 1 out of 4 for me. Speed control wise, I actually really like this team. The only thing I see missing here is the Tailwind, as Chulainn explained. And I guess in most matchups it won't be an issue at all. But, you know, if you play against a really fast team and they have Tailwind as well and they manage to get it up because maybe they can fake you out or taunt you or protect themselves otherwise with, protect to stall out your fake out for a turn and then set the Tailwind up and blah, 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 then you can be in a weird spot quite quickly. But still, you do have Regieleki. There's nothing to argue against this. You cannot outspeed Regieleki. You've got Behem to set up the Trick Room. You've got Indeedee to guide Behem to ensure Trick Room gets set up. You've got the passive speed control with the Sun mode, Ninetales and Leafeon. And initially, I kind of felt like Leafeon and Ninetales with the Sun mode were kind of anti-synergizing with the team because of the Sun and Registeel and so on. But at the same time, I also think I really like the possibility of bringing that in, even though it weakens your Inteleon, even though it weakens your Registeel. At the same time, you do have the secondary option to go with the Sun mode, and there's not too many. I don't think we have a real Sun team in that sense in the league, so it might be really nice to have this option. Landorus can be super strong, can hit you hard. Rex just talked about the trenches of fighting against the rock slide flinches until you're dead. I think this can become a real issue, so Landorus definitely a great pickup in this team. And I also really like the Purloin, which is a cheap Liepard. Really the budget version of that, with just the tier 4 and 25 points. That's amazing, I have to say. So yeah, speed control wise, I think this team is only lacking the Tailwind, which I think you could argue for a 4 here easily, but I kind of want to stick with the 3 because of that. But for the modes, then this team is so versatile. It can bring basically anything, and you can't really prepare for it. You have to try to prepare for everything and try and guess what the strongest mode against your team will be, which makes it really scary to prep against, as Rex also just said. So that's easily a 3 out of 3 in modes. General support, I mean, it has the Indeedee, it has Purloin, it has Slurpuff, which can do some support, I think. It has Regieleki, which can do a lot of support if it wants to. It has the Inteleon, which with Soak on this team can do a lot of support. It can do Icy Wind and so on. There's enough options for support. That's easily a 3 out of 3 for me as well. And offensively, I mean, this team is pure offense, you know? So there's nothing to argue against its offensive capabilities as well. You've got Registeel, you've got Inteleon, Regieleki, Soak, Leafeon can be super strong. Even Slurpuff and Burden can be a big problem. There's the Landorus, Hitmonchan can proc Weakness Policy, and so on. We even got Behem and Expanding Force on the Psychic Terrain, which I think didn't get mentioned yet. So that's really scary. There's a lot of scary ones, and I think this is also the latter reason the Expanding Force also is why it can definitely play within the Trick Room as well. It probably doesn't want to be in the Trick Room too long, but maybe against a few opponents where their Trick Room mode isn't stronger, this is still a valid option. The only other weakness I see in this team is that it is not bulky at all. It's, in my opinion, really frail. Like, you've got the Reggie, you've got Purloin, you've got Ninetales, you've got Inteleon, Landorus, you've got Hitmonchan. I mean, yeah, Hitmonchan does have, I don't know, 120 special defense or so, but at the same time it also only has really low HP stats, so it's not really bulky. And a lot of these Pokemon would like to have maybe screens to protect them, which, yeah, you can get them up quickly with Reggie, but it's a bit lackluster, I have to say, and all of them kind of want the Focus Sash, so that's a bit awkward. But you know, at the same time, the best defense is offense, and this kind of feels like the mantra of this team. Regardless of that, I still ended up with 1 out of 3 for bulk on the Etherious Salamandras, and this brings me to a total of 14 points, which results in a grade of 7.
Okay, great. Then I think we are done for today. Anything else that you want to say, or shall we just end the video?
I think we shall end the video because we are over 2 hours currently.
What?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So
I'm really sorry for that.
I will just show the point tables from us at the current time, so everyone else is aware of the standings. And then I think we can just end the video, and we'll see us on the third part. And I have to say thank you to Chulainn and Kev. I think we're all done with everything for today.
Yeah, I'm super tired.
It's just slightly late.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for watching.
Yeah, thanks for watching.
And see you
Thanks, and see you next time.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye.